Hello internet friends, welcome and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about the buying guide for 2025. Now that the Christmas and New Year is coming, Christmas is over and New Year is coming, there are so many deals offered by all these brands and we are kind of confused on what gear to buy with all the deals around. And especially if you're new and if you're a beginner to photography, you must be like so confused which one to get. And here, I think this guide will help you to find out what cameras or lenses to buy. And to help you with that, I want you to, if you're new to our channel, I have my website, Alissa and Jay, and you can tune into that. So let me quickly show. This is going to be our website. Okay, this is already our website, but I've been talking about it quite a long time. So this is Alissa and Jay website. From here, this is Alissa, ALISSAJAY.com. From here, if you can navigate to multiple discussions that we have in our website, right from travel vlogs, photos, and Tech Talk. In Tech Talk, I talk about a lot of interesting things about cameras and gears, and I give my honest reviews. And so it's an interactive thing. And I recently I spoke about art of photography. In art of photography, I talk about how to navigate into different items of photography, like for example, exposure control and lighting, white balance, how to get sharp images every single time you click the shutter button, etc. There are a lot of things I talked about in my previous live stream. You can have the chapter markings right here under table of contents. You can check them out. And if you haven't missed out, good for you. Right now, in today's topic, we are going to how-to mode. Like all the discussions will be here in how-to, and I'm going to talk about how to buy your photography gear for 2025. All right, so let me quickly go into that. This is me, again, right in the corner of the screen. And I'm like that, the Microsoft pin guy. All right, I'll be here to help you out buy your cameras or lenses or whatever is associated with that. And here I always provide, in all these discussions, I always provide the help guides under the table of contents. You can find the help guides in similar fashion. If you're coming from Nikon or Canon, you can always go into the corresponding website and you can always find your help guides. So this is how it is in Sony, but you can always find similar kind of user manual, web manuals for other systems as well. And when we talk about buying any gear in 2025, there are a few things I want you to consider. And the reason for having this live stream itself is like a few points. The first is that whenever you open the internet, when you search for a product, especially a camera or lens, you are bombarded with all sort of ads from all the websites selling these products. It's okay if you're interested and if the product that is displayed to you is the right product for you, but most of the time it's not. It's mostly crappy products that's available in the internet, and they just use their PR to make you buy these products. And I will explain a lot on that topic, but here I also linked the live stream in the website, so anytime you have some doubts when visiting this website, you can always come back to this video and you can have a look at it. And now, going back to the live stream, I have a few points. This is like, I thought about it last night and I decided to have this posted here and as a reference guide. And I will talk a lot in this video, which will be updated in the same post again later, right after this. All right. All right, I find the internet speed to be a bit lower. I'm not sure if the stream is okay. Let me know in the chat if the stream is okay, the audio is okay. If not, please, yeah, just put it in the chat. If not, I will, rectify a few issues before continuing. All right. So, with that said, I want to start with, if you're a hobbyist, finding who you are. Okay, giving all your money to all these gears is a different story. But before putting your money on any camera gear, you need to identify yourself, who you are. Are you a hobbyist? Are you an enthusiast? Or are you a professional? I think most professionals know what they do. They are given the camera gear for their level of experience, and they by the company, or they already own certain camera gear. So, which is fine. Professionals are good. They know what to get. They know what they're using gear for. The level of proficiency in their industry dictates what gear they buy, which is also fine. But when it comes to hobbyist and enthusiast, that's where the consumer market is being played upon. I see a lot of camera manufacturing companies, especially the third-party manufacturers, are bombarding this industry with a lot of entry-level products focused on entry-level content creators, and I think it need to be revised. Okay, just a quick minute. So Alissa is also using internet, and because of that, there is a lag in internet, and you can see some loss bit rates because of that. So apologies for this loss in bit rate. I think from now it will be okay. We are at least like 1 minute into the live stream. Okay, 6 minutes into the live stream. Anyway, yeah, going back to the topic. For hobbyists, so which one to get for hobbyists, which one to get for enthusiasts. So this video, the buying guide for 2025, will be based on that. And so for the cameras and lenses, filters, memory cards, or all these things that you will want to buy, let me show here. Whatever level you are, so you will start to buy cameras, then you will update to interchangeable lens cameras, then you will buy filters, you will buy memory cards, batteries, camera bag, grip, base plate, tripod, remote, monopod, like whatever is there in the industry, you will be tempted to buy, thinking that you will use it someday. Okay, that's how this works. But we are not going to do that today. We are going to start with why you need an interchangeable camera in the first place. So let me switch over here. Okay, so this is called an interchangeable lens camera, and this is a fixed lens camera. You can see here the lens is fixed. Let me put it here. This one. Okay, now it says good connection. The internet should be fine. All right. So this is a interchangeable lens camera, as in like this is the lens, this is the camera, and we can change the lens. Okay, I can insert a new lens. Okay, this is a lens, right? This is a very, expensive lens that comes with aperture ring, that comes with a focus ring, that comes with a few other buttons as well, and it also has a click, declick button. And this is a normal lens, regular lens, inexpensive lens, relatively. And also here, we have a fixed lens camera. You cannot remove the lens that is in front of the camera. When do you use it, and when you're going to use this kind of cameras? Why do you even need to get these kind of big sensor cameras? I started my photography using a DSLR camera. Here, you cannot see the sensor like you just saw earlier. Okay, so that's a mirrorless camera, and this is a DSLR camera. This DSLR camera comes with a mirror in front, which means that the mirror has to lift up to actually provide the light that is required for photography to capture photos. And this has become obsolete. This camera belongs to Alissa. She started her photography career using this camera, and later she stopped using these kind of cameras altogether. She just started using her phone and she was okay with it. She was able to create content. She was able to sell her photos, which is fine. But what is the advantage that these cameras bring? There are actually a few. First thing is the dynamic range, low noise performance, and the sheer resolution that you get out of these cameras, these sensors. The images will allow you to edit in the post if you're going to shoot in RAW. And these have really good RAW capabilities. But not all cameras are made the same. And here we're going to discuss further. So if you're going to start your photography buying an interchangeable camera in 2025, I think this A6700 is the best bet. Why? Because this has everything you need today. Until the next camera that is released at the same price point in 2027 or 2028, because this is like 1,500 with all the discounts. You get it at like 1,400, and you don't get any better camera for this price. Let me explain. Okay, let me quickly go into the buying guide here. Let me open up Nikon or Fujifilm cameras. So what you find in Fujifilm cameras, let's have a look, right? Oops. It's unfortunate. Okay, what about Nikon? Okay, Nikon products. Interesting. I wonder how the internet is doing today. So okay, the internet has dropped on me for some reason. Let me quickly check the health of the internet. If anybody is viewing, please let me know in the comments or in the chat how is the internet doing, because I'm unable to log in. Okay, bhphotovideo.com. This is one of my favorite. Okay, I completely relied upon this internet to be okay, but unfortunately something is wrong. Something is wrong. Regardless, I have this huge list, all right? I know it's pretty counterintuitive to spend all your time making this kind of a list for yourself, but this list will be available for everybody to view. Okay, so here I have separated all the cameras, lenses, and whatever is offered by these companies like Canon, Nikon, and Sony. I have split them on the basis of what is important for me. For example, price is the number one factor for me to consider buying any cameras. Number two is the, let me make it even bigger. All right, so number two factor is the weight of all the gears. So whatever I'm gonna carry should stay with me for the time that I carry them around. So weight is important. Number three is the, for lens, it is the close focus distance. For sensor, the size of the sensor. For example, I will not go below APS-C size cameras. So sensor size is important. There are also 1-inch size cameras, which we will not cover today. If you're a beginner photographer, you should be okay with using a camera like Sony RX106 or 107. But if you're not so beginner, you want to venture into interchangeable lens cameras like the A6700, you should consider this chart actually, or you can make a chart like this yourself. So we have here camera brand, lenses, the categories, the price, the weight. The weight is in grams. That's why it's like everything is about thousands. And here we still have a few lenses below thousands. And you can see a lot of factor. When it comes to lens, that's the biggest investment you're going to make, because the lens is going to stay with you longer than the camera. Camera bodies keep changing now and then, every few years, like every 3 years or 4 years, the bodies will keep changing. So whenever you're making a purchase for your photography gear, you need to consider the lenses. All right, so here, if you think about it, now you have to consider the filter thread as well. So here, I don't know what these are. All right, so a lot of consideration went into making this chart. Once you make such a chart, what you need to do is go into this one. So what I have done here is I have brought back all the data from the chart into this kind of a combo pack. So how many cameras am I gonna buy for my use case? That's something I need to think about. Okay, 1 camera or 2 camera just to carry around, or after using 1 camera, do I think that I need a second camera? All these things. So depending on the cameras and lenses, what is the weight and price? These 2 are my primary concerns whenever I'm choosing a camera or lens. You need to make a chart like this, which will be helpful for you to save money before your purchase. And with that said, here actually you can select, pick and choose. I have a few combinations here, and I can always delete these things. All right, and I can always choose. Okay, camera. Let's say, for example, I want to combine Nikon and Sony. I can always go to camera. I can go to Sony. I can choose FX3, for example. If I need a dedicated video camera and a dedicated photo camera, I can choose the corresponding camera, and the weight and everything should come here. But unfortunately, it's not picking up for some reason. Oh yeah, I need to bring this down. Yeah, now it's bringing in the weight and the price, which will give you a total estimate of how much you're going to spend on these cameras and lenses. I highly recommend you to make these so that you have an idea about how much you plan to spend. With that said, okay, this is the basic way to estimate your purchase. But you don't stop there, right? So once you think about which camera to buy, which lens to buy, the next part you'll be thinking about is the batteries. Okay, so these batteries, they don't last for long. They just last for 1 full day maximum. And if you're lucky, that too, like it can go up to 500 shots separated. But if you're lucky, you can take up to 1,000 shots, sometimes 2,000, depending on how conservative you are in keeping the battery intact or saved. Or if you're in the cold countries, the battery life may vary. So you need to get a battery for this. That's going to incur more cost. The next part is the SD cards. So which type of SD cards you need to get? I have a 3 type of SD card here. As you can see, each of them differ in their read and write speeds. So here, for example, this is 48 megabytes per second. This is 100 megabytes per second. And this is I think 300 megabytes per second. What they indicate is actually the read speed, how fast the computer or your camera can read from this memory card, read the data. And the write data is not mentioned anywhere here. This probably, the write speed is actually much lower than the read speed. And so you need to consider how much of an investment you need to make for your memory cards as well. What I have seen so far is actually the Angel Bird cards. That is, maybe it is the SD card, or maybe it is the the CF Express Type A cards for Sony especially. They are ending up cheaper than the SD cards. Why? Because they offer a much higher storage capacity at 1 TB for the same price as a 512 gigabyte SD cards. So that's something very nice from Angelbird. So I would go for such a camera and not a camera like this that can only accept SD card. But today, for enthusiasts, this kind of camera is still okay. So if you're going to buy this camera and use it for its maximum potential, you need to get a card like this. The advantage of getting this kind of card is time savings. So you save at least 3 times the time than these cards. So depending on the write speed, the speed of writing is going to vary, which will end up saving time for you. Once you have thought about saving the memory card, you need to buy a memory card reader. So this is a pro grade memory card reader. I have two type of memory cards. One is the CF Express Type B cards, and the other is UHS Type 2 card. And this one can read both at the same time. And this one is something you need to invest over time, not immediately. You can always connect the cable to your camera and copy the data directly from your camera to your computer. That's always an option. But there's a limited capacity on your computer, so you need to invest on something like this. So these are external hard disk, and this is external SSD. This is 4 terabyte, and this is also again 4 terabyte. This one is faster, and this one is a much slower writing speed, but this can go to much higher capacities at a cheaper price than this one. So there is some kind of compromise in buying either of these. But, by the end of the day, you need to get something like that. And once you're done that, you're good for writing the data into your computer, saving it for a long time. But what about the rest? After you buy your camera, you might need to buy something called a base plate. Or let's say, for example, if you want a quick action, you might need to buy something called a quick release. So once you attach this base plate on your camera, you have the capability to use this for quick release. And this is something you will consider. These add up to the cost. And this, as you can see here, comes in a plate called Arcuspis plate. This is like a universally attachable plate, which I will explain in a bit. And for now, let's talk about, if not that, you'll end up buying something called this one. This is a base plate. You can buy the base plate as a base plate from manufacturers like Small Rig, but you can also buy it as a cage from Small Rig for these kind of cameras, or you can buy it as a cage like this. I have a few things to show you guys. So this is a cage for A6700. Most videographers might use this because you can attach stuff around for your rigging gear like that. Which this one is from Falcam. I would not recommend buying this for a very specific reason, that it will pull you into the ecosystem of Falcam, which is not the universal ecosystem. So I would steer you away from buying products from Falcam. And I have so many of them, which is not compatible with the remaining type of gears that I have. So I would really steer you away. So first lens, you buy your first lens and the first camera, then you will have to buy a second lens, because you see there's a difference between these two lenses. That is the focal length. You might need something wider than whatever you have purchased in the beginning. And later you might want to buy something like a tripod or a monopod. So this is a tabletop tripod. I don't use it often. I use it in a very indoor conditions, but definitely not outdoors. What I rather use is something like this. This is a Peak Design tripod. I think I can zoom it out a bit. Yeah, so this is a Peak Design tripod. I think if you Google it, you will see a lot of benefits. Why this tripod is very famous and why people buy it. Firstly, this is very small. This is actually very, very small. And it's very portable. This is made of carbon fiber. It comes with a attachment as well here. With this, you can tighten or loosen your base plates and stuff. Why I like this is mainly because of this hinge. This is very convenient to open and close. It doesn't hurt your arms. And here it's very compact, as you can see here. The entire ball head just goes recessed down here, which you can elongate after loosening this. And even this can be recessed. So you can pull it out, rotate, tighten or loosen, then you can put it back and recess it, right? So a lot of advantages of using this kind of tripod. Now I see a lot of companies, especially Falcam, they try to imitate this really a hit model tripod. Why? Because the design is perfect, and they want to copy these. But what they fail to do is actually give you a better solution for the hinge design. So sorry, for the locking mechanism. There are two type of locking mechanism. One is this kind of push-pull lever, and the second type of mechanism is the rubber turn knob. And I find that the rubber turn knob mechanism, the rubber comes off loose very fast, so I don't use it anymore. I rather use this instead. So depending on what tripod you think is good, working for you, then you can think about buying a tripod. I find this one to be a really helpful tripod. Why? Especially because it can carry up to 9 kilograms of load. So that's why I prefer the Peak Design Travel Tripod. And if your budget allows for that, you can go for that. But if not, there is also Ulanzi, which comes at a cheaper price point. Let me quickly check if the internet is working. Cam tripod. Okay. For some reason, the internet is not working. I'm screwed. Okay, I based this entire live stream based on internet. But yeah, the next product I'm going to show is actually the 70 to 200 millimeter lens. And yeah. Okay, so when it comes to telelens, why would you want to buy a telelens, right? Like I said, this is a wide-angle focal length. Previously we saw a not super tele, it's a relatively tele focal length. This is 35 millimeter lens, and definitely you will not get much reach with that. And once you start using these kind of cameras, you will want to zoom in further. You don't have the zoom capabilities with these two. These are called prime lenses that don't zoom. Over time, you will need a zoom lens, and that's where these lenses come into picture. This is a very professional lens, which most people would not get. Okay, the internet is working. Okay, let me take you to this page. All right. Okay, so this is the tripod I was talking about. This is a tripod from Falcam. I would not suggest you to get it just for the sake of entering into the Falcam ecosystem, but I just want to show you this rubber knob. So what happens using this kind of a tripod is that the rubber knob comes off pretty easy over time, like maybe for within a year or so. So that's why I stopped using this. There's a possibility that the tripod push-pull lever that can break as well. But Peak Design gives you lifetime warranty, but these guys, they don't give you lifetime warranty. So I would pay the money, save up for Peak Design, and buy that instead of this one. As you can see here, the maximum payload also is much lesser than the Peak Design. This is an interesting tripod. But one thing I like about this tripod, and why I even talk about this tripod, is actually when you loosen the knobs, the tripod just falls down instead of like removing it one by one. And that's something I like about this tripod. There is always something to like and something to dislike about these tripods. So this is something I like. You can also check out the details about this tripod. And you can see here, you can put whatever ball head you want to put on top. So we are moving to the next product called ball head. There are a few types of ball head that I want to talk about. Okay, so let me grab them. Here we talk about ball heads. All right, so first we see a regular ball head. So this is what will go on top of the other tripod that I showed. This can go into the Peak Design tripod as well. And Peak Design has a different type of ball head. And this one can rotate. This is the ball of the head. And you can have 360-degree motion with this, and also a tightening knob. One thing I like about this one is actually you can tighten or loosen this tight wrench, right? And also you can do panoramic motion with this one. This is one type of ball head. The second type of ball head is actually this one. This is a video fluid head from KNF Concept. This is a really small miniature version. If you're into videos, you can use this. Usually ball heads are the ones used for photos. So if you're into videos, you can use either this one. It's a very compact one, but I still don't like it. How to buy a fluid head or ball head is to make sure these knobs are pretty far away from each other. This is a very bad purchase from my side, so I'm giving you a warning not to buy these, right? So this one can still do the panoramic motion, as you can see in the bottom. You can turn left and right. You can adjust this lever for your fluid motion, how you want to position it. Yeah. And it's got this gear inside which locks this lever into place, which is very important. And here we have the fluid head adjustments. So it goes up and down, right? So this one you can adjust. But my gripe with this fluid head is actually the top part. You see, this need to be tightened very hard. So whenever I tighten it very hard, it's very inconvenient to loosen it. So for example, if I'm going to place this camera on top of this, so I tighten this, you see the amount of gap between the camera and this tightening knob, it's so tiny. So I have to put my hand deep beneath and then like hit the camera twice or thrice, and then I have to loosen this tripod, which is very, very inconvenient over time. So make sure you don't have any tripod like this, I mean fluid head like this, or even the tripod. Okay, but when it comes to the ball head, it's a different story. You can always put the mount like this and tighten it from the back, so it's pretty much away from the camera. This is a very good ball head in my opinion, and yeah, this is one you can use it. So these are the considerations you need to think about before purchasing your ball heads or tripods and anything. And yeah, let me go into the Ulanzi page. That's something I want to talk about. The price. Okay. Okay. Now that we are here, let's go back and start from the beginning. Cameras and lenses for beginners, right? So the internet is back, and let's quickly go over this. Let's go to Nikon or Fujifilm homepage. Fujifilm is very close to what people think is useful for them. Fujifilm International, or BH Photo Video. Okay, so bhphotovideo.com is one of my favorite websites to go to because they have cataloged everything pretty much in detail. So let me go to Fujifilm cameras. So let me go to photography, digital cameras. Under digital cameras, we find, let me block the brand. Let's choose. There are so many camera manufacturers, and it's really confusing which one to get. Let me choose Fujifilm. Fujifilm alone has 224 products. All right. Sony has 551 products, but this again includes a lot of deals, bundles, etc., which we don't want. And now we're going to go to the sensor size. Probably this is how you would do. None of the beginners are going to buy the medium format cameras, so let's just ignore it for the time being. And the new product, M5, right? We have the Fujifilm M5, which is absolutely terrible product for anybody to buy, in my opinion. It is using older type sensor, 26 megapixel APS-C X-Trans CMOS 4 sensor. In my opinion, it's a bad sensor because I have used it in the past with Fujifilm X-T4, and I did not find good results with the sensor. Well, the dynamic range is okay, the ISO is okay, usable, but when it comes to rolling shutter, especially in a camera body of this size, it's going to be unbelievably slow. You may think that, okay, 26 megapixel is better than 24 megapixels, but trust me, this is a camera you will replace in a blink of an eye. Now let's talk about X-T5. X-T5 has 40 megapixels. 40 megapixel camera at 1,500, $1,600. That's something very nice. And this one, M5, comes at like half the price, $900, $600 lower. And especially with all the deals you can find, right? It's really important that you understand where you put your money. 40 megapixel, you can go for X-T5. I have seen some really amazing pictures from X-T5, and it uses the same sensor as X100 that I have, which is very good. It's performing really, really well. The dynamic range is good. The resolution is good. And I'm cropping in a lot whenever I'm using my camera, X106. And still, the image quality is wonderful. So you can definitely go with either X-T50 or X-T5, which are very much lower at the price point. But the problem you have with the Fujifilm cameras, the biggest problem, and I think the only problem they have, the major problem that they have, is the autofocus. None of their cameras autofocus is good. They are all very bad. And since they are very bad, you will not have good output. When you don't have good output, you will start to blame the camera. Hey, this camera doesn't do that for me. And yeah, if you're doing that with the Sony cameras, I would say, hey, it's the user's fault. But if you're blaming that on any other camera, I would say, yeah, the camera is the fault. So that is the situation today. Sony cameras have the best autofocus in the market, producing amazing dynamic range from all the images. And so I would want to stick with Sony for the time being, or maybe Canon. Canon cameras are good as well. So let me dive into Canon. So let me take this. Oops. I don't want Fuji. So just Canon, and the size, the sensor size for beginners, I would recommend is actually the APS-C, not 1 inch and nothing else. So we have 37 different products. You can again remove the kit. Okay, just base models. Kit configuration. Okay, for the time being, we'll keep it. And for the sensor, let's take the video resolution to features. No, we want, yeah, we don't want any of the DSLR cameras. So we're going to skip the DSLR cameras. We're going to just choose EOS R, R10, R50, and R100. Apply selection. So these are the newer series of cameras. If you see any Canon cameras with D500 or 500D or something, then it's going to be DSLR cameras. R for RF mount system. And here we see a lot of combinations, and they are pretty okay in my opinion. For a very basic photographer, you can start with this camera and you can get really good images with really good autofocus. Looks like they are using dual pixel CMOS AF, and they're okay in my opinion. So even if it is the first version of dual pixel autofocus system, they're performing really great. That's what I have found. And compared to even Nikon at this same price point. So you can get a camera like this, R50 or R100, and save yourself a lot of money if you're just starting out and enter into the RF system. And later you can buy a second-hand Canon R and upgrade your system. So Canon models are great in a way that you need to enter into the ecosystem with the basic models like these. I wouldn't choose Sony. So, okay, Sony base models are priced higher than these for sure, but camera base models has a lot to offer. And also the camera lenses, in my opinion, if you want higher quality lenses, they cost a load. So that's something you have to remember. Canon lenses cost a load. So you probably are good investing your lenses on Sony cameras than Canon cameras. That's something you can think about. And let me, now that you have seen the base level, entry level cameras from Canon, I'm going to change to Sony. Okay, let's release all of them, and let's go to Sony. You may think that I'm a Sony fanboy, but I'm actually not. I hate Sony for pricing their entry-level cameras so high. Alright, so let's pick up a few models. Henceforth, like from 2024 to 2025 to whatever in the future, I don't recommend any of these A6100 or A6400 because their batteries are so tiny. They use NPFW50 batteries, and so I highly recommend you to start with looking into ZV-E10 or ZV-E10 Mark II. ZV-E10 version 1 has terrible, very terrible rolling shutter, so I would not recommend you to go with ZV-E10. I would ask you to start with ZV-E10 Mark II, A6700. These are the kind of cameras you need to buy from Sony. And if you want to buy a full frame camera, for example, let me choose the full frame as well. I think we have changed it right here. Yeah, let me uncheck it. All right, so these are from Sony, A6700, a ZV-E10. Now, I want to say something. The kit lens from Sony is unbelievably good, trust me. Yeah, don't trust anybody, but yeah, this is really good. It comes with a power zoom. It's so compact and tiny, and for the price the performance is okay. All right, and so I want you to think about getting the camera with this kit lens, but don't go for the version 1. The version 1 kit lens has so much noise, it's too distracting in most cases. So I would recommend you to go with the second version of the kit lens. That comes with Sony ZV-E10 Mark II, or if you can buy it separately for about $100 or $99, I think that's the best kit lens ever you will purchase. So ZV-E10 Mark II with the 16-50 version 2 lens. I don't think version 2 is mentioned here, but the lens actually looks like this. Okay, here it actually is the version 2. You can see here, OSS2. This is what I recommend you to get if you're starting out with photography today. Why? Because it uses the same sensor as my Sony A6700, and it's got a really good capability of autofocusing, which means you tend to get photos in focus every single time, even with good amount of shutter speed. Let's say you got it a bit darker. In some cases, you have the potential to boost it up in the post and make a picture more usable. Yes, it's a bit more expensive, a lot more expensive than the $500 cameras that we were seeing from Canon. But what this offers, even the Canon cannot offer. You see, the third-party lenses that's available for Sony is enormous. There's no kit lens like this in Canon. You can go with any lens that's even 12 years old from Sony and you can get amazing results. So that's the kind of level the Sony APS-C entry-level market is, but it's priced a bit higher, but it's delivering whatever it's priced for. All right, so but if you're going for a full frame camera, I will uncheck all these things. So if you are a full frame photographer, you might want to consider A7C2 rather than A6700. A7C2 is what I'm using here, right here. So this is actually right above the table. It's actually filming me. I'm live streaming using A7C2. I've been using it for like a couple of hours in the past, and it was performing great. Everybody complained that A7C2 overheats when doing videos, but I would say A7C2 is performing great even for videos. Yeah, it overheats faster than even my A6700 when shooting formats like 4K, XAVC, SI. But for the regular live streaming and such, you can definitely use a full frame sensor. You look at the background blur you get. So this is at f2.8. The amount of background blur you get is just mind-blowing with the full-frame sensors. And it is not only applicable for A7C2, any sort of full-frame cameras will give you this kind of a blur. And if you're enticed with the full-frame look, we're going to talk more about which camera to get from Sony or Canon or whatever, right? So now, for the question of A7 IV versus A7C2, I would highly steer you towards A7C2. If you're thinking about getting, no, see, the problem with the A7C2 is the lack of dual SD cards, then I would say, hey, dual SD cards are fine, but if you still want to have a dual SD card, I will suggest you to wait for A7 V, because you're still owning whatever camera you're owning, and as a full frame user, you should wait for A7 V for the dual SD card slot. Don't buy A7 IV today. It has so many disadvantages compared to even A7C2. What about A1 Mark II? I would say A1 Mark II is a transitional camera. Whenever we have a minor upgrade from a previous camera priced very high, it's always the transitional products. And A1 Mark II is actually a transitional product. Why? Because the competitor Canon R5 II, the second version of it, has so much more capability shooting RAW, especially for videos, and RAW 8K 60 frames per second RAW, all these advanced features for videos, and amazing photo capturing capability with Canon R5 Mark II. A1 Mark II seemed to be much inferior in terms of capability and is priced much higher. When a camera is priced at this point, it tends to go out of the industry very fast. I have seen a lot of people buying and switching from A1 to A1 Mark II just for the body's sake. The body is amazing. I've used it. It's fantastic. There is none in the market that comes even close to this body, but the competitors are not too far away. And even in the Sony ecosystem, A1 Mark II is still an intermediate product. You wait for A7S Mark 4 or 5? Yeah, 4. A7S Mark 4, I think, is going to come up with a lot more beneficial video features. And so I would want you to wait before buying A1 Mark II. So what about A7R5? A7R5 is a fantastic body, and it's got a fantastic camera photo capturing capability. If you think that you need that 60 megapixel, go ahead and buy it. There are a few things I want to talk about these two cameras, basically. Before you buy this camera, make sure you have a very good computer to process these photos. All right. So this one doesn't have the capability of capturing uncompressed RAW format. Uncompressed RAW gives the computer the ability to process it much smoother. This camera only has the compressed RAW capability. What it means is that you need to uncompress the RAW files before you start processing. So when you import these files into Lightroom, it might seem like it's going to be taking a bit longer time than the other files. For example, A7C2, which is live streaming here. A7C2 has the capability to capture uncompressed RAW files, and it's going to be much faster. Even the files are like 64 megabytes 64 megabytes each. So when you think about buying any such cameras, make sure you have the uncompressed RAW format. And I think most Nikon cameras, entry-level cameras has it. Most Canon cameras has it. And we are not going into the Panasonic yet because they don't have the APS-C size cameras. I will talk about the Micro Four Thirds cameras in a bit. And before that, let me go back to this point. Here, I spoke about the cameras and lenses. I'm still not finished, but let me give you a better picture. Once you're done with the cameras and lenses, what you will end up buying is actually the filters. Okay, before filters, you want to take some steady photos, you want to explore deeper into photography, you want to take long exposure shots, you buy a tripod. You buy a base plate, a quick release, and a tripod. After buying a tripod, you tend to get a remote. You say, hey, okay, the camera is shaking. I don't like to use the, yeah, lossless compressed is why my phone battery got drained like crazy when using Lightroom. Happens, bro. Yeah. It's a very demanding format. Lossless compressed is, again, it's a very, very demanding format. So when you're uncompressing the files, it's going to take up a lot of power. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Thanks for your comment. Hi, Day. I know you. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, bro. All right. Uh, yeah. So here, I think I mispronounce your name, but anyway, yeah. Tripod. Once you get the tripod, you might want a remote. If you are not convenient using the drive modes with 2-second delay, you will end up buying a remote. After buying a remote, you must be thinking, okay, I need to slow down even further, which means you will be getting some filters. So there are several filters, like let me show you. All right. So there are several filters. First, you will start with something called UV filter, and these are the filters that goes on top of the lens. I don't have the ND filter right now, but let me show you with whatever I have. So you will start with UV filter. The manufacturers of the UV filter, they just say that, hey, you need to buy a lens protection filter. Why not get a UV filter? So they will try to promote you. Don't buy any of the UV filters for any reason. They are not needed. Rather, you can get something like a Black Mist Pro filter that diffuses the light around you. That's actually more beneficial for you in a long run to get some creative effects. But if you don't want the diffused light for your landscape photos, especially you want the sharp edges, you might want to buy something called a CPL filter, a circular polarized filter. So as you can see here, it's black. Okay, so this is the magnetic filter that I'm using. This is the diffusion filter. This is the polarized filter. You can change this to get the polarized light. You can see the black changes to purple and back. Okay, so depending on how it perceives light, it's going to polarize the light. This kind of helps in removing the reflections that you might have from the water, from the sky, or wherever. This is a very useful filter. And also there's a filter like this called ND filter, neutral density filter. It comes in many variants. That will help you to reduce the light that's entering into the lens. And in an effect, you increase the shutter speed to slow down whatever is there in front of the camera. And yeah, you will invest a lot on that. So filters is something that you will continue to invest. And for example, if the filter is not of the same thread, for example, this one is 55 millimeter filter thread, right? So it says 55, but the filters that I'm using are 67 millimeter filter threads. How am I able to use them? It's because I use a step up ring. So I step up from 55 millimeter to 67 millimeters, and I'm using that. Okay, why do I even do that? Right? One, to eliminate all the vignetting around the corners. So when the light enters into this, it's going to take out all the edges into the sensor, and it's going to cause vignetting. So to avoid that, you use a step-up ring. And the second purpose is that I have a lot of 67 millimeter filter threads because Sony G Master prime lenses are usually having the 67 millimeter filter thread, and I used to have a lot of filters for the 67 millimeters. So if you have many lenses with all these different type of filters, you will end up buying a lot of different filter thread conversion mounts. And this one is also luckily 55 millimeters, so which is fine. I use them interchangeably, but if you don't, you will end up buying a lot of conversion rings. You'll end up buying a lot of filters, and I do have a huge stack, which you can check in my other video. And what else comes with the cost? We need to factor them as well. What's next? The filter. And you will think that, okay, buying one screw-on filter. These are called screw-on filters. You screw in them, right? You screw in them. Yeah, these are called screw-on filters. Later, you will be getting bored of the screw-on filters, and you will want something like this, magnetic filter, for easier correspondence. But the problem with the magnetic filter is, like, if you hit, this will just fly away. Let me show you what happens. Every single time I use my KNF Concept magnetic filter. This is a magnetic filter again. So every time I put the camera on my bag, camera bag, the cap just flies away. So make sure you buy a really good quality magnetic filter. This again has a neutral density, I think it's a diffusion filter. This is an upcoming brand called PhotoCat. This is a very nice brand. This is a cheaper brand than the KNF Concept, and I think they are much better built. That's what I find. But the quality, I'm not sure. I am okay with the quality that I get from that filter. So that's something you can consider. And the higher the number you go, for example, when you move from 67 to, this is a 77 millimeter filter thread. This is from Viltrox. This is a UV filter, the lens protection filter. The lens alone costs like several thousands of dollars. So I do want to protect this lens. So I do have a UV filter that came free, but yeah, I wouldn't buy paying money for that. But yeah, you can have something like that. The higher up the number you go, more expensive it's going to be. So that's something you can consider. And let me go back to this. So once you get all these things, you need to put all these things in a camera bag. All right, so you need to search for a camera bag. And after you find a camera bag, you might want to have something to take videos. You will want to buy a monopod. Or, yeah, sometimes you don't have to, but yeah, if you buy, you buy. And then quick release, storage devices, cables, computers. So everything combined, it will increase your cost of photography to an extent that you would not have considered before buying your first camera. Once you go dive deep into photography, you will think that, hey, I'm not getting what I want. I'm not getting these results. So, for example, I will talk using examples. If you go into my website, there are two parts to photos. One is nature, the other is wildlife. Especially if you're venturing into the nature photos, you will want to take shots like these, like flowy waters. You want to take shots like sunrise, sunset, whatnot, right? So for all these creative effects, you need to have certain tools. This one, I had to carry my tripod and everything for like at least 1.5 kilometers, just carrying it on my back and to that particular location. And to get this, I need to use a camera, a lens, filters, multiple filters, tripod, and make sure that this area is well lit. So I need to carry a light as well. All these things just to get this photo. Is it necessary all the time? The answer is no, not at all. You can get photos handheld, but there is an extent to it. For example, this one. This is a photo that I shot handheld from further away using Panasonic G9 Mark II, the Micro Four Thirds camera. But that camera is more expensive than my current A6700 camera. That camera can have very good image stabilization, can stabilize the images up to around 1 or 2 seconds. 2 seconds handheld photos, it's unforeseen before 2024. So yeah, I mean, Olympus cameras can do, but not this good. Okay, this is a high resolution photo. You can see the flowy nature of the water. To get these kind of images, you need to pay a premium. You don't get it with cheap cameras. And that's exactly what I'm going for. Like, if you have cheap cameras, you want to get these kind of photos, you need additional tools. If you have expensive cameras, you may not need additional tools, but you can still get something to some extent without carrying a lot of stuff. But if you have the capability to carry and just be satisfied with lower quality photos, then yeah, you're better off with phone cameras. But this is what I want to really show you, the amount of cost required to enter photography and grow from there, right? So once again, I will come back to this for whoever has not listened since the beginning. You need a camera, you need a battery, you need a lens, you need SD cards that go into the camera, you need faster ones, and you need SSDs, you need external hard disk. I mean, either one of them. And you need some quick release. You might need some base plates, some cages, whatnot. Like everything and anything adds to the cost. You need a bigger size of this tripod. This is a tabletop tripod. Yeah. So which one to get? Right now the industry is filled with a lot of things, right? So which one to go for? If you already own a camera, then it's good for you, you know what you need. But if you're new, and especially if you're venturing into the third-party lens options, there are huge amount of third-party lens options, and let's explore them, okay? Especially, I want to start with Viltrox because I have a few gripes with Viltrox. Viltrox. Viltrox lens, right? Yeah, Viltrox camera lenses. They have huge variety of lenses. I would say the third-party lens revolution started for Sony with Samyang lenses. So let's also check into Samyang lenses for Sony. And I will still go into the BH. Okay, so here we have BH, photo video. We'll come back to this to check the US price, but for now, we will venture into their official website. All right, so Samyang now changed to LK Samyang. That's a different story. We'll come back to this. So these are the initial, very, very initial lenses that came for Sony as the third-party lenses for APS-C cameras, like 8mm f2.8 compact fish eye. That's one of the lenses I used to use. I've used a lot in the past. Not only this lens, but even CCTV lenses. And yeah, these are all very exciting lenses. Look at the price. They are nothing. You can save up for this in like a couple of months and you can get these lenses. But by the end of the day, it's going to sit in your wardrobe collecting dust. You are not going to carry all of them wherever you're going. So choosing the right lens is the priority. And getting the right image that you actually want is something you need to consider before choosing these lenses. All right, so coming back to Viltrox, I would say most of these lenses shouldn't be purchased. For example, I tried Viltrox 16mm f1.8 lens. The 1.8 is very enticing for full-frame cameras, but after using it, I find the corners to corner sharpness is not that great. All right. When it comes to 135mm f1.8, I find the weight itself might break the mount. So the weight of this lens is 1.235 grams. So you can think if this lens, okay, this is a 70 to 200mm lens, weighs 1.05 kgs, and this one weighing 1.2 kgs. Lesser weighing lens is coming with a tripod collar, and the more heavier lens doesn't come with a tripod collar. You can imagine what's going to happen to your camera mount. I will leave that up to you. Most people don't like when I complain about the weight of this lens. They just still keep marketing this lens. I don't even know why they released it. Here they have another lens here. This is a 28mm disposable lens. That's how it's even marketed. And people are considering this as a toy. I'm okay. It's your money. You can spend on whatever you want. But by the end of the day, it's, again, a useless lens for most people. So don't put your money on this. I tested it. It's a fixed aperture lens of all things. There are lenses from Nikon, like 26mm f2.8 lens, that doesn't have fixed aperture, that has a variable aperture, which gives the total control for the photographer. But this is not the case in this lens. They say that for the 99, okay, now it's like on sale, $84, $85. Totally not worth it. You can spend that $85 on a filter for your existing lens, and you will be really good. All right. So when it comes to f1.2 lenses for APS-C cameras, disregarding the weight, the quality of this, and the existence of it is actually very unique in the market. You cannot go wrong buying the 75 or 27 millimeter f1.2 Pros for Sony E-mount APS-C cameras, which is fine. Okay, but if you consider the weight for the body, it's going to be like pretty heavy. You may keep them in the house or closet or cabinet and not use it at all. So that's something you can consider. Now, I mean that's something you should consider, the weight. But if not the weight, then yeah, it's okay. If only the quality, you're gonna use it on the tripod most of the time, should be okay. This is a lens I really like, the 13 millimeter f1.4 lens. This is a lens that I absolutely love. The quality from this 13 millimeter f1.4 is fantastic. I have actually made a video. So if you go to my videos, there's a video for the 13 millimeter f1.4 very long time ago. It's an absolute favorite for me because even though it is heavier than my 15 millimeter f1.5 1.4 lens, let me switch it and show you. So this is the tiny compact 15 millimeter f1.4 lens. This is an absolute beast. It weighs nothing, just like 200 grams or something. And it's got all the lens features. It's 15 millimeters of focal length, which is like roughly 22.5 millimeters focal length. But when it comes to Viltrox lens is about 400 or 500 grams, and it's pretty heavy, hefty, in my opinion. So it's even like very long time ago. I used it on Fuji body, and for Fuji body, I was able to get some really nice. This is the review. You can check it out anytime. I called it Fuji Love because I just loved the camera and the lens combination so much. Okay, the image quality I got out of the 13 millimeter f1.4 lens is mind blowing. It's like an unsung hero in the Viltrox community. But the problem again is the weight, which is actually bearable compared to the 27 millimeter lens. But would I recommend it? I would say still no. Today, in 2025, if you ask me, I would say don't buy it because the lens is not weather sealed. They have a gasket behind, but it's still not weather sealed. But I have to say, with all disclaimer, or full disclosure, I have to say that this lens withstood the entire night, the dark, misty night that I was there in the mountaintop. So without any of the fog or mist formation inside the lens, which is fine. Okay, so it can handle the level of abuse that you're in to some extent, but not all the time. All right. If you ask me which one to buy among these lenses or full frame lenses, I would say none of them is good. Okay, none of them is good compared to the lenses that's there in the native manufacturer. For example, Sony makes this 85mm f1.8 lenses. They are much better purchase than this Viltrox third-party lenses because they have so much more to offer. They are more weather sealed than these lenses, and I think it's a waste of money if you're going to use these lenses. All right, I don't know, for some reason the fan turned off, so that's why I had to pause a bit. Okay, so I hope we are still going good. Yeah. All right, so what about this 56mm f1.4 lenses? I would say pretty bad. All of them are worse than the native camera lenses. You're much better off getting the native brand lenses than any of these. So there's one lens that I actually recommend from Viltrox, and that is the 13mm f1.4 lens. And that's it. Okay, this is something is very subjective from my experience. I used to use, okay, I also have a video made for 24mm f1.8 lens from Viltrox. Okay, the problem with oh, the problem with this 24mm f1.8 lens is the aperture ring makes some squeaky sound, and also the zoom ring is not that accurate. And yeah, I mean, everybody say that they can fix it in the firmware, this and that, but the firmware never arrives, and even if it arrives, nothing is fixed. So yeah, I'm starting with the cheaper options here. So Viltrox is one cheaper option, which, yeah, I would not recommend that much. Let's move to Samyang. Samyang is, yeah, doing some strides in this community. They have always been there in the community, the Sony E-mount systems. So if you see here, they have released the lenses for so many other mounts as well. Here we can see for Fuji, we have a few lenses here, both manual and autofocus lenses. I like using manual lenses, especially for the wide angle, because you don't need to think too much about the depth of field. So I love manual focus lenses, and one big advantage of using manual focus lenses for wide angle application is that you can tape the focal length and expect that not to change forever. You can come back to the same focal length and shoot from there. So it's like physical, it's mechanical, it never changes. So that's something I love about manual focus lenses. I adore these lenses. These are very well made. If you ask me, should we get any of the Samyang lenses? If you want to experiment, play around with photography itself, yes, you can. But for long term, these are not helpful. For none of these cheap lenses are helpful for long term applications. But yeah, if you want to start shooting compact fisheye photography, I have seen some desert photos shot with fisheye lenses, and they are absolutely fantastic. So yeah, you should try fisheye, and I think for trying, setting aside this amount of money to play with photography, I think it's fair enough. So try Samyang lenses. There is a few other brands that come to my mind, like Sigma lenses. Sigma lenses are something very close to my heart. Why? Because they are coming up with very practical lenses like these 28 to 45 millimeter f1.8. Let me talk a bit about that lens. This lens is a heavy lens. Not many photographers will use this, but this gives the ability for the photographers to just use one lens and not change it. This is a very practical focal length for many artists, like portrait photographers. And yeah, most portrait photographers would prefer 85 millimeter focal length, but for wide angle portrait photographers, establishment shots, environmental portrait photographers, for those kind of genre, this lens is amazing. And when we come to the general purpose lens, this is a new lens that I tried, and I was really amazed by how sharp this lens was, corners to corners, in all focal length range. And that was stunning, okay, in all aperture range. So you need to consider aperture range, you need to consider the focal length range, and you need to consider the field of view range, like from corners to corners. Either corners, it has to be very sharp, and this lens is one of those lenses. And where it sets apart, where it is like lacking when compared to the G Master lens, is actually the micro contrast. If you ever try any of the G Master lens, I would say the micro contrast on the G Master lens is like on the next level compared to any other lens that's there in the market. So that's where this lens falls short. And people would say that, okay, it's on par with the G Master lens, but I would say for the price, it delivers. Okay, this is actually much cheaper than the G Master lens, and for the price, it's fantastic. Something I love. Okay, I loved, but I did not get this. I don't get standard focal length zoom lenses. I go for wide lenses. I have 16 to 35 millimeter G Master version 2, and I have the 70 to 200 G Master version 2, but I don't go for the standard focal lens. It's just not my game. This one is the 24 to 70. It's actually, at the same weight as the G Master lens, around 750, 745 grams. So if you think you need to consider this for your full frame application, you can totally get it. I will come back for APS-C cameras again, but yeah, give me some time. All right, so this one built very well. This one is made very well. But one thing I would want to improve on this built body is actually the newer design. The newer design lenses, these lenses have how do you call it? A textured body. I would call it as a textured body like GMAS lenses, which I really like. It won't get scratched or scuffed that easily. But this one, they have the smooth body. It's not the newer design, so they can get scratched or scuffed easily. And that's something you can think about. When it comes to Sigma, there are a few other lenses I love. Okay, this is for APS-C cameras. And here you can see, oh, yeah, this is, again, a very good lens. I will talk about it. And yeah, when we talk about the contemporary lens from Sigma, I tried the 10 to 18 millimeters f2.8 lens. I love the size, how it stayed in my hand. I love the feel of it. I love the look of it. I like the fact that the filter thread is very usual one, 67 millimeter filter thread, for which I have a lot of lenses. Sorry, a lot of filters. And the f2.8 aperture is very attractive, in my opinion, for a zoom lens. But I find the corners to corner sharpness is garbage, literal garbage. Okay, so don't buy this lens and expect the image quality to be awesome at f2.8 corners to corners. It's crap. Don't do that, guys. Don't expect to buy cheaper lenses, and expect really good, amazing image quality. You get what you pay for. That's something you have to always remember. I think I need to put it in the website. Instead of this, where did I put it? Okay, I think I removed the quote. So I think I need to put a quote here. You get what you pay for before anything else. All right, so let's move on to Sigma. These are all the contemporary lens that's there in Sigma. And I want to explain a few things. They always follow the same trend. Sigma 18 to 50 millimeter f2.8 DC-DN contemporary lens. That's a great lens. It's a good carry-around lens. And it will not give you as wide of a field of view that like the other ones, like f1.4 or f1.2. This is f2.8 lens. A full frame equivalent is f4 lens. That's what you get, okay, from the APS-C cameras. And when we move on to the next tier, the 30, 56, 16, and 23 millimeters, all are built the same. In my experience, there's a fine possibility of fine particles entering into the lens elements and sit inside, which you cannot remove. And I have sold at least a couple of lenses because of that issue. Since then, I have stopped buying Sigma contemporary lens. Even though they claim weather and dust proof, I don't buy them at all. So I would highly suggest you not to look into this contemporary lineup at all. Yeah, I mean, 56 is compact, very nice, but it's not that versatile to use in multiple applications and scenarios. Okay, guys, like whoever is listening, if you want to ask me any questions, I will take a quick sip of water. You can put in the chat if you want me to cover any other topic. Just put it in the chat. I will cover. All right, let's continue. So, what do we have here? Yeah, so Sigma. Okay, we are done with Sigma. And I think the newer lenses, basically, the newer lenses are awesome. The older contemporary lens lineup is something you should not consider. And one lens that I think I missed here is actually the 500 millimeter lens, which I will show. This is a fantastic piece of glass. Oh yeah, there are two things I missed. So this 500 millimeter f5.6 for wildlife photographers or even landscape photographers, this is a fantastic piece of glass. Look at how tiny the lens is. I was really surprised. It's very tiny. If you have the money to buy this, just go ahead buy this. If you can, you can check out this review. I think it's the most useful lens for the Sony bodies, at least Sony and Sigma bodies. I compared it with the 200 to 600 millimeter lens that I have, and it's actually something that fills the gap in the Sony ecosystem that the Nikon already has. The Nikon has the 600 millimeter f6.3 VRS glass, and that doesn't exist in Sony ecosystem. So Sigma comes into picture, and they have a wider lens. Okay, the reach doesn't go that far, but when paired with Sony A6700, this is like a no contest lens. You don't have anything else in the market for Sony cameras. So this is something you can consider. Very, very, very nice lens. It is expensive, but that is something you can save up for. You can buy it, and you can never leave it. Okay, this is just weighing 1.3 kilograms. Just 1.3 kilograms. To put this into perspective, this is 500 millimeter f5.6 DGDNOS lens. That's the amount of reach. That only weighs 1.3 kilograms, while the Viltrox, on the other hand, the Viltrox, I'll bring it here. Yeah, Viltrox 135 millimeter f1.8 weighs a freaking 1.235 grams. So that's why I'm saying this is a huge disappointment in 2024. 500 millimeter, on the other hand, is a great, great lens. I have made a video about that. You can check it out later. And the few other lenses that I want to talk about is specifically is the 90 millimeter f2.8 lens. This is a compact, tiny lens. If you check it out, the lens size is actually only this much. So let me move to this one. The lens size, the 90 millimeter f2.8 lens size is only this much. You can carry it around with a focal length range that's pretty far away. 90 millimeter is very far. And yeah, you can get really good amount of image quality from that. So that's something you can consider. And the rest of them, I tried the 17 millimeter f4 lens. Not a good option, in my opinion. Rest of the contemporary lens, I don't think you should get it. Like, for example, let me just filter it down. Full frame, lenses, contemporary. Yeah. So these are the contemporary lenses available for full frame. 17 millimeters I tried. F4 looks okay. It looks small, but it's actually pretty heavy and bulky. And the same is the case for all other lenses in this range, except for this 90 millimeters f2.8 lens. That's crazy. The size, for the size, it really delivers. What about zooms? I tried the 16 to 28 millimeters f2.8 lens. It's meh. Okay, so if you really want the range for that price, you can go for that. But in my opinion, it's meh. It's not even worth considering for me. And the same goes for the other lenses. 28 to 70, again, the same meh. Again, this 100 to 400, it's again not that great. Okay, so if I were to consider Sigma, there are only like few lenses that I would consider. All right, now let's move on to the Tamron lenses. Okay, so let's open this up. Anything I missed? Anybody, if you want to chat, let me know what you want me to consider in the corresponding brands. All right, so here we have the lens lineup for E-mount. Okay, let's take up all the mounts. Why not? And let's take up. Yeah, it's very hard to decide between the 85 millimeter f1.4 Sigma and the Tamron 70 to 185. I would say you should consider 85 f1.4. I think you mean f1.4. So I would say you should consider 85 millimeters f1.4 lens instead of the 70 to 180, because even though it seems to be good on the paper, it's not as sharp. It's not as sharp as the prime lenses, so I would never consider the 70 to 180 for the purpose it is intended to be used. That's why I did consider all of those before buying this 70 to 200 millimeter lens. And if you want to buy anything in that range, I would suggest you to go with this behemoth of a lens instead of investing in Tamron or Sigma lenses. Not worth it. See, when you're considering buying a 2.8 lens for your full frame cameras, you're already going into the level of pro. 2.8 zoom lenses for your cameras, you're already going into the level of pro range. And if you're entering into that level of mindset, you will not be happy with the images that you get. Like you might think, okay, it is cheap today, and tomorrow I can upgrade it to something else. Doesn't work that way. You will not be happy even tomorrow. So better save up for the 70 to 200 instead of 70 to 180, or you can just go with the 85 f1.4. That's a great lens. All right, coming to Tamron. Yeah. Yeah, again, I have chosen this Fujifilm X mount. Why? Because that's the crop sensor cameras. And we can see there are a few lenses available. Here, this range is for the, how to say, beginner to intermediate level, and people who really want the 2.8 aperture. You can consider these two lenses. The problem with the Tamron lenses are that they are heavier than the counterparts like Sigma 10 to 18 millimeters f2.8. Excuse me. And 17 to 70 is actually much heavier than the 18 to 50 millimeters from Sigma. And people who use them, they're happy with the results. There's no problem. But yeah, I mean, you can go with these lenses. There's nothing wrong with them. And also, I really considered buying this 150 to 500 millimeter f5.6 to 6.7 lens, but later I decided it's just too heavy. It's actually a heavy lens, and this could be like 18 to 300 millimeter lens could be a very good travel around lens that you can consider. The I have used in the past 24 to 200 millimeter lens from Nikon, and I always found that the images are a lot softer than my liking. So, if you are going for that very versatile travel around range, the problem is you will get soft images, but you will get the images. That's something that you think about. So, it's a compromise that you're making. I will give you an example. So, I went to this place called Pranburi, a mangrove forest, where there were ton of crabs. So these crabs, it will not be possible for me to just hold one camera and lens to travel around this region and not to take photos and videos of this crabs without that particular lens. So basically, you get the benefit of carrying just one lens and camera combination and end up with softer images, which you can actually sharpen it in the post, than carrying like multiple lenses and cameras, which I'm doing right now. You see, I'm not just satisfied with the soft images, so I'm okay carrying multiple cameras and lenses. But if you are a kind of person who are like, okay, I'm okay with the soft images, I will see what I can do in the post, then yeah, go with these lenses, multi-purpose lens. Let's look at the Sony mount lenses. So what's there in the market? So this one is inclusive of all sensor sizes. Let me specifically pick up full frame. All right, so here again we have the competitor for the Sigma. In Sigma we saw 16 to 28 millimeters, and here in Tamron we are seeing 17 to 28 millimeters. And likewise for even the APS-C body, they have the 17 to 50 millimeter. Oh, sorry, this is still full frame, right? 17 to 50 millimeters f4. This could be a much versatile lens if you're going to just do traveling and photographing. And yeah, the aperture is the compromise you're making here. So there is always some sort of compromise. And yeah, you need to draw your line. So that's where I gave this table. You need to draw your line. Who are you? what is the level of your expertise, and which of these gear are you considering. So once you enter into the market, if you're not buying your fixed lens camera, then you will end up buying all these things. That's something is a given. You need to draw your line to think about where you need to stop. It's all about stopping. It's not about starting to buy. It's about stopping to buy. This is a whirlpool. Once you enter, you will keep spending money on these things. And especially in this time of the year, New Year or Christmas, you have a lot of deals and you don't know where to put your feet. And yeah, that's why I'm making this video. Especially like I'm making this as a live stream so people can come and chat, and if you have any questions about a specific product, you can ask for recommendations and such. All right, I will have future live stream videos where you can still ask the recommendations, but that will be after the deals are over, like second week of January. All right, so yeah, this was a new lens actually I recommend. From Tamron, that is the 90mm f2.8 macro, and this is a very nice lens. This is rivaling the 90mm macro from Sony that has been the king for Sony for several years now, and this one is very nice. You can try this out as well. This one comes with image stabilization on the lens as well, so that's something you can consider. 1770 to 180, like I said, yeah, a bit softer image quality, but if you're okay with the post-processing the image to sharpen them, you should be okay. So this is again a lens I considered 50 to 400 millimeters, but I decided that the reach is not just for me, so I decided not to go with that. If I want to buy anything else from what I have today, I would actually go for 1.4x teleconverter for my existing lenses. That's going to increase the range. All right, so I think we have covered Tamron. So these are the Tamron all-purpose lenses, 28 to 200, 28 to 300. These are all like travel around lenses. You will get softer images, but if you just need one camera and one lens, you can definitely go with any of these and you will not go wrong. Okay, let's finish up with Tamron. Any other camera lens system I have missed? I think I have missed a few, like TT Artisans. Okay, there's a chat. Hey, I am brand new to photography and I was wondering what could be a good attachment for my Canon R50 that I just got today. Great, congratulations. R50 is a great camera, at least the spec wise. The autofocus is good, which means you're going to get good photos with good focus. May I know what lens you're using? Like, you can comment in the chat. You can put it in the chat what lens you're using. What could be some good attachments? All right, so right now I have listed a few. So you need to buy. Okay, let me move myself away. So you buy your attachments based on your use cases, right? So for example, if your primary use case is actually the landscape, then you might want to invest in tripod. You might want to invest in base plate. I think most tripods come with a base plate, for example. This is called the base plate. You can put up in the chat what is your primary use case for the camera. All right, let me change. Yeah, so this base plate usually comes with a tripod. Yeah, let me show you this way better. Okay, hit the camera. All right, so any tripod comes with the ball head, comes with a base plate like this. So if you're not happy with the base plate, and if you want something like a cage, you can go for either Falcam. Falcam is okay, and you can also choose small rig. It's still fine. Okay, let me read out the comment again. regarding 85 f1.4, I want to use it for portraits, but the telephoto zoom lens can do that too with less bokeh, but I get the versatility. Yes, that's why I'm on the fence. Right, true. That's exactly the dilemma you have. That's true. Currently, I have 18 to 45 millimeter lens, and I'm planning on mainly focusing on nature, city photography. Okay. For nature, let me bring this up again. There are two things. Okay, uh, for for 85 millimeter lenses, right? I think you have seen my portrait photography. Okay, let me bring this part up. Okay, give me a moment. I will bring up some photos. Then I can explain better. Okay, so... So when I was explaining the sharpness, like how sharp you need to get the images, right? Yeah, I got it. So for example, this one, I'll put the information on the side. This one was shot at 200 millimeters. Okay, so if you're going for the sharpness, going with 200 millimeters will still get you some amazing bokeh. Okay, at 200. You can see the bokeh fall off here. And for portraits, you can still get some really, really good bokeh. This is 56 millimeter f1.7. This again is shot at 135 millimeter. Even at 135 millimeter, even though you're getting the sharpness, you don't get the critical focus. This is why you need to go with the native lenses. This is something I explained in my previous video. You go with the native lenses and you get the critical sharpness right on point. And that's why it's very important that I suggest the Sony lenses instead of Viltrox or any other brand, even Sigma. In Sony, 70 to 200 millimeter, at 200 millimeter, I got this critical focus on the eye, no matter how the subject moves. So that's something, okay? When it comes to, when it comes to nature and city photography, so these are some of the examples that I gave in the past. I will show you something further. So these are all nature photos. I like shooting nature photos. So this is something from 24 to 200 millimeters from Nikon Z6 II. I was on a car on a safari, and I had no choice but to shoot whatever I have in the rain. You can check out this video called Kuibiri National Park. This is where I suffered. This entire trip was on a car. So, or if you go to such places, you get the versatility. 18 to 45 for Severin, right? You are using 18 to 45 millimeter lens, and 18 to 45 you get a really good reach mounted on the APS-C camera, and so you tend to get photos like this. The advantage of using the tele end of the lens shooting landscape photos is you compress the background to the foreground, taking these amazing photos of the layers of the mountains and such, right? So that you can achieve with the tele end. But if you want to go wide, you might want to take some photos like this. So you want silky smooth water, you want some silky smooth sky, you might want to use ND filters. Just give me a moment. I will bring my ND filter and I'll show you. All right, I'm back. So I have a lot actually. If you see my other videos, I explain that I have a lot of ND filters. Depending on what type of filter range, like I have a lot actually. Yeah, depending on the filter thread I use, I buy ND filters instead of buying the conversion ring. And when I buy these ND filters, they just stay. I don't get to use them all the time. Why? Because one thing is that once you attach these ND filters on top of the lens, you don't get to close them. That's one thing that I noticed. Unless you get... Oh, I think it got stuck. Is the live stream smooth so far? Okay, give me a second, guys. I am trying to change. All right, I think I will change to this camera. My camera overheated, apparently. Let me cool it down a bit. Meanwhile, let me change it to this. Yeah. So these are the ND filters you will want to use, right? So for example, this one, you can open it and close it. I'll show you this way. Yeah. Okay, it's a very bad idea. Let me quickly change the camera. Give me 1 second. So this is the camera I was using, and it went well for two. Yeah, it went well for 2 hours in the previous live stream, but today I did not use the air condition a lot, and the camera overheated. So I'm going to change to my A6700, my trusty little camera, which can do a lot of things right. Yeah, I get it. It's just frozen. Okay, let me switch it quickly, real quick. Add scene. Okay. Technical difficulties, right? All the time. Okay, so you're basically seeing a very dark image because the aperture is at f/16. Yeah. All right, I think I'm visible now. Okay. Yeah. It's always pretty easy to set it up usually, but today some issues. All right. Okay, I'm back. All right. So when we talk about ND filters, this is what we use to smoothen out the water or whatever. So this is something you can think about buying. But this ND filter comes in different ranges, as you can see here, ND2 to ND400. So what's the benefit of using ND2 to ND400? It gives you the range from very dark to very bright. So here you can see whatever is behind, right? But if you were to close this, it's going to become very dark. Basically, it's stopping the light from entering the camera. Okay, because of that, you will increase the shutter speed. So there are only 3 things in exposure triangle. I hope you learn how to use the manual focus for these kind of photography applications, because when you're shooting manual, you tend to use control all the elements. Basically, let me see. Yeah, now it's smoothened down a bit. So this says battery exhausted. Fine. I will search for a battery. Yeah, I don't know where the battery is. Anyway, I have a different camera I can show you. For example, this one. This is the camera I use on an everyday basis. So what's the deal with this camera? I get to control everything manually, right? So here you can see there's shutter speed, there is ISO inside. If you lift the lever, you can control the ISO, and you have the aperture here. You can control all the elements. And when you shoot manual, what you have is like you know that you need the depth of field of 2. You know for the fact that you need the ISO minimum 125, and then you control the shutter speed. Okay, especially when you're shooting landscapes with ND filters, and you tend to increase the shutter speed to get the amount of flow or amount of exposure that you need on that particular subject. When you do that, you get the flowy water, and that's why the less light you allow into the lens, the more smoother the images moving around you will look like. And that's why I think for especially for landscape or nature photographers, there are two filters I would recommend. One is the ND filter. The other one is actually CPL, circular polarizing filter. I think this too is just a ND filter, right? Yeah, this too is just a ND filter, but there is this filter that comes with ND and a CPL together. So for example, it will come like this. There is a really bad thing about this lens. I will explain in a bit. This one is not to purchase. Okay, you should not get this one. Why? Because while you're at the scene, I'll show you. I think I can show you. Now it's dark, right? So this one will adjust the brightness and darkness of the scene. And there's this grip. When you hold it, it'll change the circular polarization of the scene. And you can see there's a plus shape exposure change, which will ruin your images if that's the case. So yeah, you can see here on one side of the frame, the images will be very, very bright, like here, and on the other side, it will become very dark, which you don't want from any circular polarizer. And that's why I think when you combine the ND filter and the circular polarizer, it's a very bad recipe for disaster. Okay, very, very good recipe for disaster, basically, but very bad for your photography needs. So don't buy these things, the one that come with ND and CPL. Even the good brand ones. What you can do instead is buy anything and everything in tandem. So you can buy a CPL filter like this. This is a magnetic CPL filter. I would prefer a screw-on one, which comes off, and beneath that I have this diffusion filter, which is not needed for landscapes or nature, but you can have this for city. The city will have a lot of different lights. And when you use a lens like this, it's going to help you to diffuse those harsh lights and give you some very good looks. And diffusion filter is what I recommend walking around the streets, cityscape. And you recommend getting the filter for this, able to control the amount of light entering. Yes, yeah, you can get, actually I would recommend you to, okay, before that, there are two things to consider. You have a very small filter thread. 49 millimeters is actually pretty small. So this is a 67 millimeter filter thread, and this is a 49 millimeter filter thread. I also have a diffusion filter on top of this. 49 millimeter is pretty small. You need to, before you purchase a filter, you need to think about what is the next lens you're going to get. And depending on that lens, I recommend you to buy the filter because uh, you can see here, there's something called a step-up ring. Okay, this is a step-up ring. What it does is it is going to step up the filter thread. Okay, here it is. Step up the filter thread from 55 millimeter to 67 millimeters, and this allows you to reduce the vignetting around the corners. So for example, if I'm going to use this lens, there might be some vignetting if you were to use the 62 millimeter filter thread like this, right? So there might be some vignetting which you can avoid using a step-up ring like this. And if you are not using this, you can go with the 55 millimeter filter thread, but you might end up with some vignetting. It's not like too harsh, but it also depends on what is the next lens you're going to purchase. My most widely used lenses are 67 millimeter filter thread, and because of that, I have this 67 millimeter step-up ring from whatever lower filter thread I have. For example, this is 49 millimeter filter thread. I would get a step-up ring that converts the 49 to 67, and I will use the 67 millimeter filter thread, which is again works in two different ways. You get to use the same filter for both these cameras or lenses, so that's an advantage you get, and also you avoid vignetting. 49 millimeter is definitely not a common filter thread, and so I would like. Okay, 55 millimeter is a common filter thread. 67 is a common filter thread, but 49 is not. So I would highly suggest you to decide what is the next lens you're going for. Depending on that, you choose the filter thread. And yes, if you're going to use this ND filters will block the light going inside to the extent that is marked on the surface of the ND filters. Let's say, for example, this one. I think this is ND. Let me read it out. I'm not sure how many stops. I think you're aware of stops, right? Depends on the next lens, like I said. How to put it? Let's say you're exploring or shooting like people, for example. Then you might need portrait lens. Or if you add filters on top of the new one. Yeah. It depends on that. Yeah, correct. So basically, before that, let me explain this part, right? So this one, it says, okay, let me show this one accurately. This one says 62 millimeter filter thread, and it says ND 64, 4 to 64. So this one says ND 4 to 64, which means it can stop the light from 4. The brightest is 4 and the darkest is 64. You can imagine it to be like 4, 8, and 8 twos are 16, 16 twice 32, and 64. So 8, 16, 32, 64. 4 stops. So it's going to reduce 4 more stops from 4. 4 is already like 2 stops down. So this is 2 stops to 4 stops down of light. And you can convert this factor into shutter speed. Basically, if it is like total 6 stops, then your shutter speed will be like increased 6 stops to get that that smooth effect. So that's how you can convert these numbers to stops, then to stops to shutter speed. That's how the photographers think when choosing the right filters. The amount of stops you reduce here, the amount of stops you will increase in the shutter speed or the aperture. And of course, when you're shooting nature, you're going to set the aperture based on what you're shooting. For example, you're going to set the aperture to the sharpest aperture that a lens offers, or the maximum sharpest aperture. That's like, let's say, for example, this one can shoot sharp images at f11 without diffraction. Then you're going to choose that one for landscapes and nature, and that will help you to achieve the slow effect to some extent without these filters. But yeah, try that. before purchasing any filters, try using slow shutter speeds, try using try taking different photos. Since you're just a beginner, right? Try taking different photos. And this is something that I want to mention. Before we jump into purchasing anything, let's try to photograph different things. Try to shoot some reflection, like go to a lake, try to photograph the reflection on the lake, try to photograph the different colored pebbles on the lake under the water, and see if you can get it. And if you are going to shoot something like that very often, then you get a CPL filter to reduce the reflection. Or if you're going to shoot something on a reflective surface very often, like cars and metallic surfaces, then you can use something like a CPL filter to reduce the reflection. But otherwise, I think it's a very bad idea if you don't do it often to get a CPL filter. Likewise, if you don't go to nature very often, then no need to get this ND filter. You can try maxing out the aperture and slowing out the shutter speed and try some photographs. And if not, then you can think about buying a ND filter. Okay, if you're not getting the results with whatever you have so far. And when it comes to tripod is something that you absolutely need. Okay, let me talk about that a bit. So this is a tripod I use. This is a very famous and familiar tripod. This is a Peak Design tripod. And here we have a few things going on. Instead of talking about lenses and filters and such, instead of going for accessories before even trying the photography, right? And one more thing, you can always come back to me and ask more questions during my next several other videos. But for today's video, let's focus on how to photograph before buying accessories, because that's my main point. Before we put our money to buying anything, let's try to learn photography. Yeah. Because once you start spending money, you will keep spending money. Yeah. So few things. Choosing the tripod. This is an absolute necessary purchase you need. So let me talk about this. When you choose these kind of tripods, make sure you have something like this, because the camera you own is a okay camera. It's not too expensive, and it's a light camera, which means that you need a relatively heavier tripod to make it stable. And any aluminum tripod will do. Okay, whether you buy, I don't want you to buy any carbon fiber tripod yet. There's not much difference, trust me. When you buy an aluminum tripod, make sure you have a knob like this instead of the circular wires. Make sure this knob is metallic instead of the plastic ones. Plastic ones break easy. So have this knob to be the metallic ones, and make sure you have a rubber base to make it firm, and make sure you have these adjustments to lock it at place when you move it around, and make sure it comes with a ball head. And if possible, then you try to make sure that the legs fall down easily instead of like you pulling it out, right? So these are the points to consider when you consider the tripod. And of course, the payload that it can carry, it should be at least 2 to 4 kilograms. Since your camera is very light, it's okay if it is like light payload. In my opinion, I recently visited a camera store and I saw a $30 or $40 tripod. They can handle your camera very well. You don't need to invest too much on the tripod. And start with the $30 tripods initially. They even have a center screw to actually bring it up slowly. You can try some video techniques using that. Just invest in them, $30 tripod, and see where the tripod is going wrong before investing in a tripod like this. This is a $300, $400 tripod. I think it's $500 tripod. It's a very expensive tripod, which nobody absolutely needs unless you use it very often. Okay, this is a ball head mount. So when you purchase that, make sure you have a universal ball head. For example, this is called Arca Swiss mount. Okay, this is what you need to pay attention to when you consider buying your tripod. This is the Arca Swiss mount, and this is the Arca Swiss plate. And you need to make sure your tripod has these universal mounts. Otherwise, when you buy anything like a Manfrotto tripod or any proprietary branded tripod, they come with their own mount, which may not be mountable for other ball heads. It's very inconvenient. And so even the quick mount, right, quick release, they comes with these Arca Swiss mounts. So make sure you get this universal mounts instead of going with the traditional proprietary mounts. And when it comes to the cages, I need to say, if you're not a videographer, no need for cages. If you're a photographer, try to get a base plate like this. That should be okay if the grip is not enough. But I think R50, the grip is okay. You can get that going. And also, getting a cage, don't choose something like this. I would recommend against getting this Falcam F20 cage. Why? Because you see, this is a proprietary design. It has the side mounts as a proprietary design. It is not like the regular ones where you can slide and lock. Those are called NATO mounts. NATO mounts are not here. This is like proprietary F22 mounts, not at all recommended. This one has the Arca Swiss plate still, but the quick release over here will not mount here. So this is not a quick release mount at all. You need to buy a Arca Swiss quick release base plate if you want to go for quick release. So those are some things that you should remember if you want to buy any of these accessories. Let me go to this page again and explain further. All right, so when we talk about these things, where was it? I'm lost. Yeah, I think I'm here. All right, so when we talk about these things, right? First, when it comes to cameras, you already own a camera. You have a tiny camera, which is fine. And then you buy lenses. You already have one, a tiny one, which is still okay. It's not like nothing is not okay. I have got some amazing photos with the kit lens and camera, the 15 years ago, which is really, really good. In my opinion, they are still fine. Cheap cameras are okay. And when you buy a memory card, make sure you future-proof your memory cards. Okay, I will change it a bit. That's something you have to think about. R50, I think, can shoot 4K videos. I am not sure about the spec of R50. Canon, Thailand. So I'm considering R50 to an example for cheap cameras to think about. Okay, so this is R50. Okay, this exactly is the combination you have. R50 with 18 to 45 millimeters. So this is the camera. So let me talk further on this. Details. I always follow the spec sheet. It's 24 megapixel camera. And let's see. Shooting mode. Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. Capable camera. Can go up to 4,000th of a shutter speed, and it can go up to 8,000th of a shutter speed electronically, which is fine, which you need to refrain yourself from shooting electronic most of the time because it will cause banding, because it's a slow reading shutter. Make sure you don't go electronic all the time. Try mechanical most of the time. And I can't quite find the video capability. Movies. Okay, there is no mention of 4K. I hope there is 4K. If you're still here, you can mention it. So yeah, if you're going to shoot 4K, you should definitely consider buying these memory cards instead. So these are like 128, 300 megabits per second recording capability. Oh, sorry. I think I'm holding a different one. This one. So these, you can see it is a UHS-2. Okay, that I can quickly check. Connectivity, SD card. So always go to your spec sheet and check if it is UHS 1 compatible. So you see here, This is UHS-2. It has 2 rows of connecting pins. And this is UHS-1. So the camera that is compatible for the memory card is just UHS-1. It's not like you cannot insert UHS-2 memory card. You can still, but it's not that great. It's not usable for this camera. So better go for UHS-1 for now, which will save you a ton of money. And then later when you upgrade your camera, you can think about getting a UHS-2 one. But go for at least 100 megabytes per second read and write speeds. Right? So that you need to be specific about. And what else I can recommend? Yeah, going back to this. So battery, get an additional battery because the battery capacity is small for smaller cameras. Remote, not necessary. You can use the drive mode, base plate, grip. It comes with the tripod, which should be fine. And quick release, not necessary. The camera is very light. You don't need quick releases. And storage devices is something you can think about buying if your computer doesn't have enough storage. And yeah, let me see if you have compressed. Okay, there's no mention of the compressed or non-compressed, so I'm not sure what options you have when it comes to uncompressed RAW files. Always shoot RAW files uncompressed and then go edit in the post. Don't go for compressed RAW files. It's going to be stressing your computer. And I think that's it. That's how you need to think about choosing your cameras and lenses. First, think about the purpose, okay? Think about who you are, who you belong in this pool. Like, okay, what is your purpose? Who are you? Are you a hobbyist? Are you an enthusiast? Then think about which is your proficiency level. And one thing I forgot to mention here, which I will add soon, the purpose of your purchase. Do you absolutely need it? Which I will talk here. I will put it up later. So for me, the purpose is traveling. Okay, I travel around, I carry the gear everywhere, and that's why I need some small, weightless camera gear, and that's why I even go for the native cameras. Okay, so let me bring this part again. Okay, so what going to native lenses actually provide me with is the amount of weight savings. So this one saves me a ton of weight. Okay, A7C2 with the native glass. It's actually the smallest and the most weight efficient lens, 35mm f1.8 ever. And I will go to this one. This is 70 to 200 millimeters. This is the, I think, one of the lightest lens. I should talk in terms of heavy and light. Sorry. So yeah, this is one of the lightest lens that's available in the market for 70 to 200 f2.8 in all the systems that too. Whether you choose Panasonic, whether you choose Sigma or Tamron, whatever it is, this is just over 1 kg, which is fine. Okay, so going native with native brands help you save the weight. And weight to cost comparison is something you need to think about. And yes, it is more expensive, but what we get is the amount of weight savings traveling to these places. What you need most is to think about how you're going to be enjoying in that place that you spend money to go there. Like for these places, this was a wonderful, wonderful place. Just staying there, it allowed me to just lay down on the grass, enjoy the breeze, enjoy the sound of waves. And these are the things you need to consider more than taking photos. Taking photos is good as a hobby, but at the expense of lacking being in the moment and lacking the experience of being there, that's not good in any capacity. So make sure you invest your time and money on traveling and photography to be secondary, unless you are absolutely intending to make money out of photography. And gears, these are all secondary. Okay, this is something I have learned over the years. These are all secondary. What comes first is for you to think about who you are and what is that you try to achieve. And right now, today, in this time of the year, we get bombarded with a lot of promotions, deals, and everything from all the manufacturers, the third-party manufacturers, the accessory manufacturers, just enticing you to get these accessories and lenses and whatnot, right? But please refrain yourself from buying any of these until you experience the need to purchase them. That's exactly why I want to make this video. For example, let me give you a tiny example. If I go into Ulanzi website, Ulanzi International, okay, Ulanzi International. This is a website. Okay, this is a company that makes tons of accessories for all the cameras. You see, tripods, lights, straps, whatnot. They have everything that's there for the camera and imaging industry. And I want to show you a bit about the tripod, right? We can choose any one particular thing and we can talk about it for hours. Why not to get them instead of why to get them, right? Everything is on sale. See, this is one of their, just $27, right? This absolute steal if it is just for the tripod. But no, it's not for the tripod. It's yeah, see, that's how they cheat you in a way. See, this is for tripod kit, something else. Yeah, in no way it's just like 20. Yeah, this is 129. I thought I clicked on something that's like 27 or something dollars, but once you enter that page, this is $500, and this is with ball head. Without ball head, it's like $470, and the ball head alone is like $130. Who would want to buy this? Really? This is a great tripod, by the way, but the rubbers come off easy in my experience. Like these kind of knobs, the rubber come off very easily, and yeah, it's kind of deceiving in most places. So, what was that we saw earlier? That's like $30. I still want to know. Let's go back. Okay, the discount is $30 maybe. See here, this is $27, right? What is it? Sale from $27. I don't know. It's just deceiving. The numbers are just deceiving. So be careful what they're showing in their websites. Once you enter the same product, $500. It's not like you're going to buy it right away, but it's so enticing to see all these savings. $131 savings. You would not want to buy this. Like I said, for beginners and intermediates, you don't need these things. Okay, just go to your usual Best Buy or whatever store is around you. Yeah, true. Trust me. Okay, just go to a store, test it out, and you can just make this rubber thing come out of that metal ring. All right, that's exactly what I tested during my visit to the camera fair. Within a use, if you're going to use this like every day, within a year, it's going to come off. And I used a product called Nest Tripod. It came off in the 4-year mark. That was a great product that had 7 years of warranty. None of these tripods come with warranty. I don't think they come with warranty. 1-year warranty. I got my tripod for less than $200 back like 10 years ago, and that came with 7-year warranty. This one costs $500 with just 1-year warranty. So deceiving. I'm telling you guys, the consumer market, the deception and the pricing and the amount of servicing and commitment they want to give to the people is going nuts. It's literally the lowest ever. Okay, so 9 years ago, I got a tripod I kept for about 8 years, and it had 7 years of warranty. And that rubber came apart in the 4th or 5th year mark, which I was able to change. This one, no. Please don't invest money on these kind of things. All right, so take it from me. If you have any product that you want to ask suggestions for, please come to my weekly live stream and let me know if you absolutely need it. And I will give you my suggestions. These things are not that useful. Okay, this one. This is a direct competitor for the tripod that I have. Just now I showed you the Peak Design travel tripod. That's like $600. It's a very expensive carbon fiber tripod that I have. But this is a direct contender. Half the price. It looks exactly the same, but does it work as well? That's the question you have to think. No, it doesn't. Okay, it looks like it has the metal. So you recommend tripod, not extra battery. Yeah, not that 500 one. Extra battery, yes. External storage for my PC. If you need it, yeah, I want you to. Okay, I will explain my history a bit. Okay, so when I started, I used my primary storage device as my computer. Once it was full, I had to change it to my external device. And if you don't need it, you don't have to buy your external storage. But if you find it as a steal to buy your external storage, go ahead, be happy to buy. Which I wouldn't do it right now. And if I want to buy an external storage, I would actually okay. Let me give you an idea. If you want to buy an external storage, I suggest you to buy this one. Something like this. Okay, this is SSD. I have all of my projects in this. My video editing projects, my photo editing projects. Oh yes, sorry. I think I did not change. Is it changed? Yeah. So this is the external SSD. I have all of my projects here. This enables me to edit right from this SSD. Why? Because the transfer speeds are at least 1 gigabytes per second. I have a computer that allows me to connect using the USB, high-speed USB 4 ports, and that's why it is possible for me. But if you don't have a computer that allows you to edit from SSD, if you have a deal in your local stores, if you can buy this SSD, go ahead. This is a weatherproof, waterproof or weatherproof T7 SSD, 4 terabyte, which will last very long, especially for your camera. But if you don't find it on a deal, then you should be good with this HDD, hard disk drive, and if you're depending on a computer's speed, yeah. So if you don't find any of these on deal, then don't buy any of them right now. If you find it on deal, yeah, go ahead and buy. But definitely, I would recommend you to buy an additional battery. I would recommend you to buy a tripod, and those two will be very helpful in the beginning. Yeah, definitely. And sorry, I think I forgot to mention. This is important. This SD cards, at least 1 megabytes per second transfer speeds. This is important. If you can buy it any big with deals, yeah, then go ahead and buy it. Not the other ones. I have a UHS 2 SD card, which is an overkill for your camera. You don't need to buy this. You can buy these only when you're upgrading your cameras that supports this UHS Type 2. But for your camera at your current situation, this should be fine. This is UHS 1 SD cards. Buy at the maximum capacity. If you don't have one, 128 or 256 GB should be good. Okay, thanks for asking. And I will move on to the tripod again. Yeah, I know that I'm pondering on the tripod again and again because this is a very important company in today's market. Ulanzi has been stealing the accessory world left and right from phones, cameras, whatnot. Yeah, thank you for joining the live stream. You can keep in touch. You can follow me on my social media. Yeah. Meet you later. I will finish this off in a few minutes, actually. We are nearing the end. Yeah. And thank you for all the people who are still staying in this live stream. All right. So let me quickly talk about this Ulanzi and yeah, I'll let you go. All right. So Ulanzi, yeah, it's actually stealing the accessory market. So that's why it's very important. no matter how many deals you see, I want you to not go for these companies. It's kind of deceiving, in my opinion. Many people, many people swear by this. Okay, if you see all the positive reviews and all the people who are raving about this products, Ulanzi products, they want you to, I mean, they're being paid and they are being sponsored. That's a different story. But the company itself, Ulanzi and Falcam itself, they want you to enter into their ecosystem and stay there. They're not making universally mountable products. That's my biggest gripe with these products. They do have an Arca Swiss version. For example, if you come to this tripod, they have different versions of this tripod. You need to mount this camera. You need a universal mount. That's why there's a universal mount called Arca Swiss mount that goes with all type of mounting options. But these things, they're not Arca Swiss mount. They're called F38 mount for quick release. They show it as if it's the best thing in the world, but really not. I would rather prefer an Arca Swiss mount than these ones. Yeah. It's just my thing. It's because I'll explain. I have a few mounts here. Okay, let me. I have to show you this because, yeah, this is important, guys. So this is having a PGY Tech quick release mount. Okay, this is a PGY Tech quick release mount, which is not the same as this square plate below. This square plate below is actually the F38 mount, which is not the same, which means I will not be able to use a quick release mount from PGY Tech onto the F38 mount. These are not compatible. It will look like it's locking, but it can slip out any time. It's not locking quite right. So this is my gripe with having a proprietary mount. You are stuck with their system and you're forced to buy such products. This Falcam cage is not cheap. You're forced to buy these expensive products out of all these things. So that's why you need to not go for these proprietary mounting options. You need to think about going for a universal mounting option. So make sure the price is right for the products you purchase before you purchase. And there are so many enticing options. Look at all these things, right? It's so enticing to buy. Like, for example, tripods. Their marketing PR, they have invested a ton for the consumer, especially the beginners and intermediate consumer people, to invest so much on these things. So please don't fall for these guys, like especially from Ulanzi. It also has a few other brands, Ulanzi, Falcam, whatnot, those brands. So don't fall for these yet. If you absolutely need it, then go for it. But if you don't need it, wait for something that comes with the universal mount, like Tilda, like Small Rig. Those guys have universal mount. For example, here is the base plate from Small Rig. This one has a universal mount. I can mount it on any Arca Swiss ball head. Yeah, so this one is okay. Yeah, so those are some of the considerations when it comes to buying your accessories. All right, and also when it comes to filters, you don't buy multiple stacked filters. It causes some really bad image quality. You can go for individual ones. It's fine. Always buy ND filter, like 10 stops, and then go increase your shutter speed. You will have better images like that. All right, I think we can end this live stream to cover all the points. I'll come back here. Understand your purpose of purchase before you purchase, especially in this consumer market where the companies, capitalist market, actually it's a capitalist market, where the companies are throwing you the PR stuff left and right for you to buy their products. And once you enter the system, you're stuck there, which you don't want to do. So make sure which one you want to buy. So you can, in today's world, you can go for Sony or Canon for very good autofocusing capabilities. As a consumer, I wouldn't recommend Nikon I mean, as a beginner, I wouldn't recommend Nikon at all. If you want to buy Nikon, go for cameras above Nikon Z6 II, and you will be good for that. If you're planning on buying Z50, for very main reason I hate the Z50 Mark II is because of the small battery size that they give. The sensor is great, the autofocus might be okay, but with the lens options and with the battery size, I really wish they had gone with a bigger battery size. So no Nikons for the beginners and intermediates. Canon, yes, for beginners and intermediates. Sony, definitely a very good choice, especially ZV-E10 Mark II and Sony a6700. And in my opinion, Sony a6700 is the best compromise in the world today on any compared to any camera systems ever, because it has very good lens selections. It has a very good stamina to be carried around in many situations like these. I would say all these photos are possible because of cameras that could withstand my abuse. So always carry a camera and think about buying a camera that can withstand your abuse and keep it for a long time. And that's what you need to think about, keeping your camera for a long time. So 5 years from now, anytime you purchase a camera today, think about 5 years from now, will I still be using this camera? If not, then which camera would I be using? And will I be able to buy it today? If not, save it up to buy it next year. And again, think about which camera is the best for that budget next year. And that's how you need to make your purchases. I hope I made my point clear. Hold on before you purchase unless you absolutely need it. Deals will be there any time of any year. All right, with that said, I think I can sign off from the live stream. Thank you for all the people who are sticking till the end, and I hope I gave you some valuable information on the products, lenses, cameras, accessories, and everything. And yeah, please feel free to join my live stream from the second week of January as well. And I have a ton of videos on my channel. You can check it out anytime on the products, on my travel, and everything, all my opinion. I hope I wish, no. I am consumer oriented and I give good advices for you, right? So for us, basically, I'm a consumer too. So yeah, it's for us. All right. See you guys again. Happy New Year, and hope you had a great Christmas. Okay, peace.